Welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast, where it's all about fixing your relationship without your man's conscious effort so that you feel desired and taken care of and special, even if your relationship feels completely hopeless. I'm Laura Doyle, and today we're talking about how to fix your husband's low self-esteem. I'm going to share 11 ways to give your husband swashbuckling swagger and self-confidence. My guest, Joanna, was lonely, sad, and defeated because her workaholic husband didn't initiate sex. He didn't even want to have sex. He avoided her, and everything had to be his way or the highway. Where they ate, what they did, their activities, how they spent their time, their money. He was super controlling. But today, Joanna and her husband spend most of their time together, enjoy great vacations, and he is always finding ways to make her happy. She's going to tell us exactly how she did that. And then I'll be giving out the award for the worst relationship advice of the week, which is directly from an old pop song that may have worked its way into your subconscious, like it did mine, because you heard it so many times. All that's coming up, but first, let's talk about what to do if your guy has low self-esteem. Because a confident man is a sexy man, but an insecure guy, not very appealing. When you see his doubts and low self-esteem, his indecision, or his inability to handle a situation that you could manage with half your brain tied behind your back, it's a turnoff. You start to wonder what you ever saw in the guy. You want him to believe in himself already. You want to see some conviction, some manliness. Every wife wants her husband to be confident. So how do you cultivate that? Isn't it something he's got or he doesn't? I mean, can you even influence his self-esteem? Well, of course you can, but just not the way you think, not by telling him to be more confident. You're the woman who knows him best in the world, and what you think of him has a profound impact on what he thinks of himself. So here are 11 ways, 11 ideas that you could try to make your man more confident. Number 1, stop doing things for him. If you're anything like I was, you see lots of things you can do better than your husband, and you've started doing them for him. You hang up his clothes the right way so he doesn't look like he has a growth on his shoulder where the hanger was digging into the fabric. Or you rewrite his resume so he can get a better job. Or you pack his lunch so he gets something nutritious. Well, that's me I'm talking about here, but I don't know, maybe you've done those things too. So consider resigning from those jobs and anything else that he can do himself. Since he was a capable grown man when you married him, that includes everything. Why? Because men are different from women in this way. They feel better when they do stuff for themselves. They feel more like men and less like little boys whose mom does stuff for them. In other words, helping him out can steal his swagger. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't lived it. I stopped doing most things for my husband a long time ago, and he has never seemed so self-assured to me. Case in point, after a video shoot with his lawyer clients, my husband told me how when things didn't seem very organized, he told the lead lawyer, "Let's get all of these knuckleheads out of here so we can get those other shots done first." The lawyer agreed and said to all the other lawyers, "All of you knuckleheads, get out of here, and we're going to get some other shots done first." Everyone filed out of the room. My husband called his clients knuckleheads, and they liked it. So self-assured. And next, as he was telling me this over the phone on his way home, he said, "Now I'm going to come home, and you're going to pour me a beer." He was so appealing, I poured that beer for him. But most of the time, I let him do things for himself. Number 2, let him do things for you. I know it's like a cruel joke that no one tells you these things before you get married, but your husband would rather you didn't do things for him at all while he does things to make your life better and easier. Really? I'm telling you right, you heard it here first, okay? So when he offers to run to the store to get Cocoa Puffs because he knows you want them for breakfast, let him do it. If you say, "That's okay, you don't have to go to the store," and you suck it up and you just have oatmeal instead, you'll be missing a chance to shore up his sense that he contributes to your life, that he makes it better. In other words, you sucking it up is bringing him down. Consider being grateful while you Let him spoil you silly. Number 3 is get happy. If you take a bath while he goes out in the rain for the Cocoa Puffs, and then you're so happy when he gets back because you're relaxed and rejuvenated, that will make him more self-assured. I'm not kidding. If you're feeling good, I think he figures he did that. He made you happy, and that makes him feel successful. The happier you are, the more successful he'll feel. The more he feels like a success, the more he'll trust himself. The more he trusts himself, the more appealing he'll be to you, and the more you'll trust him. It's a virtuous cycle. It's impossible for him not to feel more confident when he's in this virtuous cycle, and it all starts with you getting happy. Number 4. Expect the best outcome. When he's leaving for the store, don't call out something like, be careful, or don't find the wrong kind again, or, the store will probably be closed when you get there. The subtext of all of those is, I'm pretty sure you're going to screw up. He can hear that loud and clear, even if you didn't say it exactly. The whole neighborhood can hear it. Instead, expect what you'd expect from the male lead in the movie of your life. That is, if you want your movie to be a rom-com and not something depressing. Of course, he's going to do well and return triumphant. You can act like you expect that, even if you don't. You could say, I'll be here in the tub awaiting your victorious return with the Cocoa Puffs. That's you deciding to have confidence in him just the way you want him to have confidence in himself. At that point, he might as well be Ryan Gosling in La La Land. That's how confident he feels, knowing you think he'll succeed. It doesn't mean he'll become perfect, but it does mean he'll do better because people tend to live up to your expectations for them. Number 5, when he asks what he should do, give him your trust. So if he asks you which store he should go to, or whether to use cash or plastic or pay for the Cocoa Puffs or some other way, or what he should wear to the store, that's the perfect opportunity to show that you esteem him. You can do that by using this magical phrase. You ready? Here it is. Whatever you think. Whatever you think. Whatever you think. Maybe he's used to you telling him how to make decisions, like my husband was. But not this time. This time you're going to act like you trust him to make his own decisions. And when he sees that you, who know him so well and trust him to decide where to go and how to pay and what to wear on his own, that will go straight to reinforcing his self-esteem. Number 6, when he asks your desire, tell the truth. Sometimes a woman will get so fired up about using whatever you think to show her husband she trusts his thinking, she misses the opportunity to let him know what she wants. He'll feel more confident and secure when he knows exactly how to please you. So if he asks what you want, tell him. If he says, what kind of cereal should I get? He is asking your preference. And if you don't give it to him, he's going to feel insecure because he doesn't know exactly how to make you overjoyed. He's going to seem nervous and anxious. He won't seem self-assured at all. But you can save the day by simply saying what you desire most, as in, I would love Cocoa Puffs. Number 7, when he asks your opinion, give him your appreciation. All right. When he asks your opinion, give him your appreciation. Here's what I mean. If he asks, what did you think of me going to the store in the storm to get your Cocoa Puffs? That is not the time to question his judgment or comment on the weather. Yeah, he's fishing for appreciation, but why not let him have some? You could say, I felt so special and loved that you did that for me. It can't hurt, but it could just help him walk a little taller, knowing that you think he did something great. Number 8, smile when he comes home. Since a big source of self-esteem for your husband is knowing that he pleases his wife, consider being happy to see him whenever you do. Give him a smile that says, here comes my hero. Number 9, say yes to sex. Knowing that you are reliably available for physical intimacy is a big source of confidence for your husband. I know. The problem is that you're not always in the mood. Why is it that when husbands are in the mood and try to initiate sex, wives are never in the mood? I don't know. But I do know that just because I don't start out in the mood doesn't mean I won't get into the mood once I get started. I almost always do. I notice my husband feels pretty good about that. Number 10, let him solve your problems. When I have a challenge that has me perplexed, I ask my husband if I can borrow his brain. And it is crazy how often he has a great idea that I just didn't think of. So helpful. But sometimes he comes up with a solution that, for me, throws the baby out with the bathwater. So when that happens, I know he just doesn't have enough information yet. So I keep going with expressing my desires. I'm letting him know what I want that I forgot to mention before. And since what we both want is for me to be happy, all we have to do is keep going until we get there. When he finds a solution, I feel better and he feels all smart because he solved my problem. Win-win. Number 11, listen for an hour. Everyone needs to be heard and understood. I love using the phrase, I hear you, to listen to people that I care about so they know their words and thoughts are important to me. And I trust that they know what's best for their lives. Consider giving your husband the entire evening to talk while you just listen and say, I hear you. Or if not the whole night, try it just for an hour. You don't have to announce it. Just give him the space. Just look him in the eye. Just do your best listening. It's funny how much people have to say when they feel heard and safe. They feel emotionally safe. They have a lot to say. Actions speak louder than words, and listening is a powerful way to say, you're important. And feeling important, I hear it's great for self-esteem. If you're wondering how to get started with fixing your relationship and making it shiny again, then you need a roadmap. Get 6 simple steps to follow that will set your relationship up for success. Discover 3 common mistakes that wives make trying to fix their relationship that just make things worse when you download my free Adored Wife Roadmap. You can do that at getcherished.com. Go to getcherished.com now to get your roadmap in minutes. My guest, Joanna, was lonely, sad, and defeated because her workaholic husband never initiated or even wanted to have sex. He avoided her, and everything had to be his way or the highway, where they ate, what they did, their activities, how they spent their time and their money. He was super controlling. But today, Joanna and her husband spend most of their time together going on great vacations, and he is always finding ways to make her happy. And she's going to tell us exactly how she did that. Welcome to the show, Joanna. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Laura. I'm excited to be here.
So tell us what things were like in your relationship in the bad old days.
Oh, sad and lonely. And I was so resentful. He would work late every night. He didn't come to bed with me. He avoided me. If we did do an activity, had to be something he wanted to do and when he wanted to do it. The restaurants he wanted to eat at. And I would say, I want to go eat here. And he'd be like, I don't like that place. And I used to think, why did I marry this guy? Like, what was I thinking? And I just was super confused and thought, how come he doesn't know how to make me happy? I keep telling him what to do, how to hug me, how to hold my hand, how to kiss me, how to touch me, things to say to me. Like, I would make lists. I would make a list. I would say, can you please tell me 10 things why you love me? Like, I just was super, I wanted him to love me the way I wanted to be loved. And he was failing.
He was. So for you, did you always feel like, okay, well, he's the controlling one? Like, was he the controlling one in your relationship?
Yeah, but I never thought to myself, he's super controlling. I more thought, he doesn't care and everything. I guess that is controlling, yeah. Everything has to be his way and he doesn't ever listen to me. He doesn't ever take into account what I like or what I want. And he would show me love in ways that I used to say, it's like I'm asking for oranges and you're always giving me tomatoes. And I don't want tomatoes. I want oranges. So that was my analogy for how he just refused to give me what I wanted. Just
what were the tomatoes you were getting from him?
I wanted affection. I wanted words of affirmation. I wanted hugs. I wanted to be held. I wanted him to be super romantic, and I wanted him to, look into my eyes, and just I wanted all of that so I could feel loved. And he was doing things like buying me presents or taking me out or trying to plan activities that he thought I would think was fun. And I was like, you just don't get it, dude. You're not paying attention. That's really how I felt.
Yeah. Well, because it is painful, right? To not get that physical affection. So was there a moment where you said, okay, we can't go on like this?
There were lots of moments. I mean, I dragged him to counseling a few times, but it was when we decided that we were going to move. We had been living in my house because this is my second marriage. I had been married before for 24 years, so I was not going to get divorced again. So I was super committed. And we have been living in my house, and it was finally time for us to get our own house. And I remember saying to him, if we're going to buy this house, here's some things that have to change. You're going to need to be more affectionate. We're going to need to figure out why we don't have sex. You're going to have to stop going in the other room, and I'm going to bed alone every night. Like, here's all the things that we're going to have to work on these things. Or I'm not going to move into this new house with you. And of course, what has happened so many times before is like, oh yeah, we'll work on it. It's important. We'll get there. And so we moved into this nice house, and nothing had changed. In fact, it was worse. So now, instead of being in the next room, he was down in the basement. He was in a completely different floor. And I remember being like, oh, I'm alone again. And now I'm in this bigger house. I felt like a pea rolling around in a great big can. It's like, now I'm even more alone. And I remember going and sneaking out and looking in the window in the basement and seeing what he was doing. And then I would go downstairs and oh, why are you down here? I'm always going to bed alone. What are you doing? Who are you talking to? I was just so upset that there was no efforts that I could see that our relationship, and especially our sex life, was being worked on at all. So I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I either have to resign myself and find ways to just endure, or I need to leave. And leaving wasn't an option, so enduring was just the only option for me.
So you were just looking at a lifetime of being a little pea rolling around in a big can by yourself.
Yeah.
Without any physical affection or sex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then what happened?
I had read your book, which is how we ended up in the house, because I said, whatever you think. Because I was like, all right, I'm going to relinquish control. But then I got really controlling again. So I had read your book.
Which book did you read?
I read The Empowered Wife. So I had already been trying a few things, but at that point, I signed up for a discovery call and decided to do coaching, to get some coaching, because nothing was really changing for me. It was too hard. I mean, I had little things here and there, and then I was like, I'm not getting anywhere. So he's not changing. So it's not.
He's not changing. Right. I mean, but you had the book, which it lays out all the skills, right? So you had all the skills in your hands. So was there part of you thinking, well, these just aren't working?
I felt that some of them were working. I could feel that little bit of me feeling a little bit better and trying to be off his page a little bit more. But I wanted it to go faster. and I wanted to see more improvement more quickly. And I was just seeing that it felt like things were getting worse.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I've tried so many things. I'll try this too.
So what did you, what was the difference then? What changed after you got a coach? What did you do differently?
Well, first of all, I had to be accountable. So when I would tell her things, and then, she would, as a good coach, ask me questions, and I started to see how I was not, first, I wasn't grateful. I wasn't vulnerable. I was still on his paper all the time. I didn't know how to be happy on my own or with myself. So having a coach kind of helped me to just, oh, wait, I just fell off the wagon there. And here's my proof because of what's happening now. So it was really, things started to get better for me. We were arguing less. For some reason, he was less defensive, and he was a little more warm to me, and he was more supportive. And so it was kind of like, well, so I started to see how my actions could really have an effect. So I felt more empowered.
Wow. So you went from thinking like, he's not working on this at all, to really focusing on Joanna's paper and looking at the ways that you were showing up that were maybe having an impact on how he was responding to you, it sounds like.
Yes. And I started to see him a little differently too. I started to notice all the ways he was showing me that he loved me that I had rejected before. I just had rejected them. Like, well, they're not what I want, so they don't count.
Yeah. Like all those tomatoes.
Yeah. I was like, these tomatoes are pretty good.
You like tomatoes, it turns out.
I do like tomatoes.
So, but you still had this legitimate desire to feel desired, it sounds like. So, I mean, was there a moment when you said, okay, these skills are working for me? It's being accountable like this. This is really working.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I had a call with my coach. We were getting ready to go on a little anniversary trip. And she encouraged me to relinquish control of this anniversary trip and just express what I would desire. So I did not ask how much the hotel costs. I didn't ask how much the plane tickets cost. When he said, I want to go take you to this winery in Temecula, and I let him take care of all of it. I didn't ask questions. I didn't, say, well, how much is that? Or I don't know. I just relinquished control. When we got to the airport, I didn't say, oh, I think you tipped that guy too much. When we got to the hotel, I didn't say, why are you paying for a valet? We could just park. I just said, thank you. Oh, this is so nice. And when he asked me what I wanted to do, I'd love a massage. And the next thing I know, he had booked a massage for me the next morning. And I noticed, and he even said after the trip, he said, that was the best trip we've ever been on, because we struggled when we would go on vacations. We always would fight, and I'd be resentful, and he wasn't doing it right. And so he said, you were so relaxed. And I had so much more fun too. I thought, oh, wow, this is working. This is making both of us able to enjoy our lives together. Mm-hmm. And it's just lovely. It wasn't perfect. Obviously, I still had some behaviors that I noticed after, but I still felt very successful.
Yeah, you were learning, right? You were growing, so it's not going to be perfect. when you're first learning. So, but what about this aspect of the physical, with the sex? What about the sex?
I still didn't understand it. But I kept kind of telling myself, and my coach would help me, that was kind of a top tier, maybe. That as I improved all these other things, I tried to think of it as like a bullseye. So I had to like aim for these outer rings, and as those got easier, and that would sort of just maybe fix itself.
Well, I love this. That is a fantastic metaphor. So tell me what the outer rings were, because that was your main pain point, right? So you were working your way up to fixing it, and there were some other things kind of around the
I started with self-care, and I started with respect, staying off his paper. I worked on gratitude. So I just sort of, the things that were the easiest I worked on first. And then as I felt proficient, I would work on the next and the next. And so I just kind of worked my way. And then this one was still like there, the bullseye was still there. But I was really, and I wasn't great at all the time. I was impatient sometimes. Sometimes I would put my hands on my hips and say, how come we haven't had sex for 10 days and when are we going to do it? I still would fall into the same, because I would get impatient and I would I wanted to feel desired and I wanted it now.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember doing the same thing. So it's scary, right? Because you think I've done all these things around the bullseye and it's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your relationship like now?
I don't even know how we got here, in a way. I do, but I'm like, everything is the way I always thought it should be if he would just change. So now I see that, like, we go on lovely vacations and we have so much fun now. We don't fight unless I fall into a bad behavior, which still happens because I am just a woman. I've learned he wants to know what makes me happy. So I have learned to say, oh, this is what I would love. And I've learned I used to call myself the wet blanket, the gray wet blanket. Like, he would come up with ideas or activities, and I would just list all of the ways that it wasn't going to work and why it couldn't happen. And now I try to, like, I'll give you an example. So we were going to go golfing this one day because we love to golf together. And he wanted to invite his son, and they wanted to go in the middle of the day, which was quite warm. And I don't enjoy golfing when it's hot. So my first, gut reaction is to be like, oh, I can't go that time. It's too hot, blah, blah, So I sat there and I said, oh, I would love to golf when it's cool. And next thing I know, he is on the phone with his son, changing the time, finding the time for us to golf when it's cool. And so I was like, oh, look at that. I just have to say what it is that will make me happy. And he's like, on it.
So is this the same guy that was like my way or the highway, where everything was the way he wanted it?
Apparently, yes.
Okay. Same one. You didn't like switch them out for somebody
different. The same one. Yeah. It turned out that I was not communicating what would make me happy in a way that would inspire him to make those things happen. And he makes them happen all the time.
Wow.
I have to be careful what I express a desire for, because it will show up.
Okay, so you're feeling quite powerful with these desires, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I see so much evidence of how he always wanted to make me happy. Mm-hmm. He was struggling to find out how to make me happy. And now there's no pressure on our physical intimacy. I feel desired. I feel beautiful. I know that he wants me.
So are you saying, does he initiate sex now?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So you've talked a lot about how you've changed, but you also said something that makes me feel like he has changed because that's what you wanted, right? You wanted him to pursue you for sex. So what has he changed? Who changed here?
I think I changed because I created safety so that he could show up as the man he always, I think, wanted to be. So I think creating the safety that we care about each other, we considerate of each other, and we have a joke in our house when we either, especially me, I'm just going to be honest, when I find myself getting on his paper, like recently he was sick, and of course I was a medical assistant, so I know exactly how he should take care of himself and what he should do and what he should eat and how much he should rest. So we have a joke now where I started to tell him, and then I said, oh, wait, you're an adult. And then he laughs and says, I am an adult. So we both kind of will do that if we start to feel like we're like telling each other, oh, yeah, oh, wait, you're an adult. I forgot for a minute. I'm sure you've got this. You've got this.
Cute. So you're always catching yourself and kind of course correcting right in the middle, and you're able to do it in a playful, kind of a light way, and you guys have a good laugh about it, which I love. What is your advice to somebody who says, wow, I'm feeling exactly the same way Joanna was. My husband's not interested in sex with me. He doesn't initiate it. He doesn't want to have it. And I just feel like he doesn't care about my happiness, and he's kind of controlling.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to have what you have now, where he's just always making you happy and he's pursuing you in the bedroom. What's your tip for her?
I think accountability, like get a coach, because that is very helpful to have the whole community and all the resources, and then the coach, because you need that support. For me, I needed that support, and maybe some people don't, but I needed someone to be accountable to, and someone to point out my blind spots, and someone to encourage me to look for all the ways, proof, evidence that my husband wanted me to be happy all along. And I just had my blinders on and didn't see it. So take a risk and experiment with looking for, maybe it doesn't look the way you think it should look. Mm-hmm. But just open up, get real open with the idea. Maybe I have this wrong. I could be wrong.
So lots of humility there. Now, on this accountability topic, I have to say, I feel like that word accountability can be kind of scary for me, because I'm afraid it means somebody's going to yell at me because I did it wrong. So is that what you're talking about?
No, it's not like a teacher or your parents. It's just having that space to express yourself, and then very gently having a coach show you or demonstrate to you in ways that you might want to do it different. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. Yeah, I never felt
different options.
I never felt judged. I never felt like I was in trouble. It was just shining a light, just kind of holding up a mirror and I'm not so innocent, am I?
Darn.
That came from myself. That did not come from other people.
From your coach. Yeah. But it's still kind of a painful moment, as I recall.
It can be. I remember a couple times thinking, no, it's not me. It's not me. And then I would take a few days, and then I would try to think, how would I feel if I was on the other side of it? And I started to see, I would probably feel the same way. So, maybe I should try something different.
And so if you knew then what you know now, Joanna, what would it be? What would you say to your old self?
Just relax. I would just be like, you're trying so hard. You're putting all your energy and your focus and your misery into trying to change another person. And all the power is right there with you. If you're just willing to look at it, experiment with it. Just be open to experimenting. That's what I would tell myself. Just be open to trying things differently. See what happens.
And now you are a coach. You've taken it a long way. So, and how does being a coach impact your relationship?
Oh, I love it. First of all, I love having something that is helping other women who are in pain, who are hurting, who are resentful and sad, start to see some light, some hope. And so it also reminds me of how far I've come and how beneficial this has been for our relationship. I have the relationship of my dreams that I just did not think was possible. We both pinch ourselves sometimes. Like, how did we? It's just as good as you can stand it, right? So that is, the coaching is very helpful to keep me on track too.
Well, it's super inspiring to hear all you've created out of looking at a lifetime of suffering and just feeling like you weren't getting loved the way you wanted to be and being a pea in a big can, to feeling like you have to pinch yourself because you have the relationship of your dreams. That is an incredible accomplishment. So congratulations. And thank you so much for sharing all these personal details with us. That everyone else can be inspired too. Fantastic.
Yes. If I can do it, anybody can do
it. You think so?
I think so.
I love it. Well, thanks so much, Joanna.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
If you're wondering how to get started with fixing your relationship and making it shiny again, then you need a roadmap. Get 6 simple steps to follow that will set your relationship up for success. Discover 3 common mistakes that wives make trying to fix their relationship that just make things worse when you download my free Adored Wife Roadmap. You can do that at getcherished.com. Go to getcherished.com now to get your roadmap in minutes. And now it's time for the Worst Relationship Advice of the Week award.
It's the worst relationship advice. The worst relationship advice. Yeah, it's the worst relationship advice. The worst relationship advice of the week.
The advice that's got me outraged this week is that you will never be happy if you are with a toxic man. It might be nice if we could just catalog everybody as either non-toxic or toxic, like crayons. But we humans are a little more nuanced. Everybody has their moments. We all have our defenses, our fight or flight reactions, and sometimes they're ugly. But we all, even a toxic man, have terrific qualities too. Deciding you have a toxic man is defining him by one very narrow criteria, by a particular moment in time, really. It seems logical to do this because during a terrifying moment when all his toxicity is unleashed on you, you don't feel safe. Of course you don't. So even though there are other moments when he's generous or thoughtful, tender, funny, or smart, you think, so what? He's also got this fatal flaw of being toxic. Diagnosing him as toxic feels like a way to protect yourself. You aren't focused on how he's a thoughtful man or asking yourself if you can ever really be happy with a funny man, even though he may be those things in certain moments too. You're focused on him being toxic because that feels like a threat. And we are built to detect threats. I know from my own experience that deciding that my relationship problems were all because my man was bad or dangerous did not help me get happier, ever. Pointing my accusing finger at him was 0% accountable, 100% victim. I didn't think I was deciding to be a victim. I thought I was a victim. And being a victim is absolutely no fun. And I didn't know what else to do when I was suffering. That was all I had back then. I didn't know how else to get what I wanted, even though being a victim is actually not very effective at all. It was extraordinary to find out that when I opened my eyes a little wider, that I was not 0% accountable for our breakdowns or even 10% or 20% accountable. No, not only was I at the scene of the crime, I went into it wearing a ski mask, holding a gun, and driving the getaway car. No wonder there was so much drama at my house. When you're on the receiving end of incredibly harsh words, it can sure feel like his transgressions are so much bigger than yours. But there was a reason you picked your man. And just categorizing him as toxic, it discounts all those qualities that made you choose him. Now, I don't want to minimize how painful and awful it is when you're in a fight and you hear toxic words coming at you. This is very scary. It's very hurtful. And I'm not saying you should just suck it up and accept that he's verbally abusive or mean. Not at all. Not on my watch. You're not going to do that. No way. What we do around here is we create peaceful, playful, passionate relationships. Nothing less. We create the kind of relationships that you dreamed of when you said, I do. So I am not saying you should just get used to it. I'm saying that you can use your power to create the relationship of your dreams, even with your man, even if he's got a temper, even if he blows up, even if he says horrible, toxic things, you can teach him how to treat you better. He's not a perfect man. I know, but he is someone that you can have a wonderful relationship with. And for that reason, the advice that you'll never be happy with a toxic man is the worst advice I've heard all week. Be sure to listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. Next week is all about what to do when your husband drinks too much. And now for some fun, which is so important. Today's fun fact is sometimes I do get an urge to go for a run, but I just lie down until it passes.